So this is what it's come to. Um, we didn't schedule a recording this week. We didn't get any studio time. There was a possibility of us going to Vegas to play in the World Series of Poker. There was some talk about that. Our buddy Kyle, and that kind of never came to fruition. So we kind of just let this week slip by. And yesterday I just decided I wanted to put something up because it's about consistency and it's about keeping up with this thing because it's what we're sinking money into just for the fun of it and just for us to have an outlet, some sort of creative outlet. And I figured we've done it before where we took 2-3 weeks off, and I feel better the days we do it. So here I am sitting in my closet at 11:30 in the morning on a Thursday, recording, maybe 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes of me just rambling about certain things that were on my mind this week. To give you a little history of why we even started this thing, Pat and I have been friends for about 10 years, and, we're really just frustrated creatively. I'll speak for myself when I say, I wish I could be a writer, but I probably don't have the talent or the discipline to do it. That's why I love Twitter so much, because it just forces me to throw something out into the universe even though nobody's really reading it, and I don't consider them jokes. I don't consider myself a joke writer. I just, I see funny things in my life and in my day in and day out existence that, I think there's a sarcastic or cynical slant to it that I can take. But I don't really do set up punchline, and not a lot of, I guess I could do a lot of pop culture stuff because I love pop culture, but I don't know, that's just not my voice on there. So that's why I like Twitter. So anyway, so Pat and I, Pat's done some plays in town and some sketch work and some improv stuff, and I don't. That's just not what I do. Probably out of fear, I probably thought I wanted to be an actor at some point in my life, but it just never came to fruition because I'm scared of life. But we met this guy named Frank Pesh, and we thought, you know what, this guy could be our Carl Pilkington, who's the guy that Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant found and started their podcast with, and he just became a runaway sensation. So Pat said, hey, let's just do this with Frank. We'll sit down and we'll talk about his life and the way he sees things and whatever. And I thought that was a great idea, and it started out with the best of intentions, and then it just kind of devolved into Frank just being angry and yelling at us and calling us morons and idiots, and 3 episodes in, I was just like, this isn't fun, and I don't want to sit around and pay money and have people listen to this, because it wasn't what I thought I wanted it to be. So by the 3rd episode that we recorded, about 2-3 minutes into it, I just backed away from the microphone and sat there for an hour and let Pat and Matt Belknap, and he brought a buddy in that week to talk about some of Frank's movies that he'd been in. And I just backed away from the mic and I didn't say anything. And then afterwards I told Pat, hey, look, I'm done. This isn't what I want to do. It's not fun. And you guys keep going, because I really think there's something there. You just got to find a way to reel Frank in and be able to have a conversation with him as opposed to a monologue. And then Pat, to his credit, said, no, I'm not doing it if you're not doing it. And we went back and forth for a little bit, and we took a couple weeks off because Pat went out of town. And then when we decided to come back, I said, you know what, I'm going to ask David Stassen, who's a friend of mine, or a buddy, I should say, who I met a few years back and stayed briefly in contact with since, to come on and let's just have a talk. And we did, and I thought it went really well. Dave was fun. We had some laughs. We talked about his writing and how he started, and on and on and on. And I actually felt really good about doing that. And it's not perfect, and it's not gonna be, and it's really raw, and my voice is terrible, and Pat's kind of monotone, and Matt Belknap has this great radio voice that makes us sound like idiots, but it was fun. So then the next week I did it again. I asked Vanessa Ramos to come on, and I'd never met her, and I think she's funny as shit on Twitter, and I had a good time with that, and she came in, although I think she was disappointed with it, but whatever. To her credit, at least she came and she did it, and we had fun. So that's where we are. And for some reason this week it wasn't going to happen, and I just thought to myself yesterday, you know what, we got to put something up, no matter what it is, no matter how it works, and how rambling it might sound. So I had heard Greg Fitzsimmons do a couple of his podcast recording on his iPhone, and I said, you know what, I've got an iPhone. I could record something on my memos, and I can throw it up onto the site and just hope that, it's consistency, and maybe somebody will listen. I doubt it, but whatever. So here we are. That's what I did. I'm recording this on my iPhone sitting in my closet at 1:30. And to be perfectly frank, I did it last night also at 1:30 in the morning sitting on the couch. And it sounded like the most depressing thing in the world, even though it shouldn't have been. Because I'm not depressed. I'm not a morose kind of guy. Actually like life. I love, I'm not fulfilled. I'm not totally happy, but those are all the choices I've made, and it's my fault, and I can't blame anybody for it. But it sounded really sad and depressing. And maybe it's because it was 1:30 in the morning, and I was laying on the couch, and the dogs were asleep, and Miles Davis, my cat, was waking up and walking on my chest and things like that. But it was awful. But I converted it to an MP3 file, and I did all that kind of stuff, and then went to bed before I loaded it onto the host server and YouTube. And then I woke up this morning and said, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I don't want that to be the one that people hear, because it was really just like, oh my God, life is terrible, and I'm going to talk about this, and that's not the case. So I said, I'm going to do it again. I just got back from walking the dogs, and they took a couple of healthy shits, so that was good. It's always a good way to start out the day. And here I am. So a few things happened this week that I really wanted to talk to somebody about. So at this point, if I do it right, I'm going to edit in the Arrested Development theme music.
Now the story of a wealthy family who lost everything, and the one son who had no choice but to keep them all together. It's Arrested Development.
And now we're back. Arrested Development Season 4 came out Sunday, and I thought I was going to get home from work, and at 12:01 I was going to just jump on there and watch 7 straight hours of 15 episodes worth of Arrested Development. It got to be about 1:30 before I got started, because I catch up on Twitter. I go back and I read 4 or 5 hours worth of timeline for, however long I'm gone, because I really do enjoy it. I really do like it. So that's what happened. So it got to be about 1:30 in the morning, and I started watching, and it was slow the first couple of episodes, and about the 2:30 mark, I started kind of fading out, and I said, you know what, I'm going to stop, because I want to be alert to be able to pay attention to watch this show, because I love it. The original run of the series is one of my 5 favorite things ever made on television, so I did want to short shift it. And so I went to bed, and then I woke up the next day and started where I was, and I kept going, and about midday Monday, I got done with the whole run of it. In hindsight, it starts out slow and it picks up as it goes along, but it's brilliant in what it does, and it's fearless storytelling and editing. I mean, it's amazing what they did, considering that not all of them could ever really be together all at the same time. And when you go back and you watch it again, which is what I'm doing now, I've gone back and I'm starting to watch 1 or 2 at a time, so I can pay more attention to the background, because so much of the show is happening in the background. You'll see scenes where Tobias and Lindsay are in the background of Michael and Job talking. And when you go to Lindsay or Tobias's episode, you see that conversation that's taking place. And it's really an incredible thing that they did. And I was really happy. It ends on an open-ended note. There's no closure to it. So I don't know if this movie's ever going to happen or if they're going to get another season out of this somehow. But overall, I was pleased. It picked up as it went along, The George Sr. episodes kind of left me bored. And there's a lot going on and a lot of jumping around through time and space, and it's kind of hard to figure out exactly where the current day episodes are taking place, because so much of it takes place right after Lucille steals the Queen Mary. But all in all, I was really happy with it, and there's a lot of laughs and obviously a lot of callbacks to the original run of the show. So I was really happy with that. So I was glad that happened. But that's what I'm doing. I'm going back and starting over again. And then now I got this fucking kick in my head that I've never watched Breaking Bad, and it starts in a couple of months, the final season. So now I think I'm going to go on and just binge on Breaking Bad to try and catch up before the new season starts. That way I can watch that. So I think I have like 2 months to get that out, and I'll probably knock it out in 2 or 3 days. But, I mean, that's just what I do. I have OCD when it comes to that kind of thing. Although I haven't finished House of Cards yet, and I really loved it, but I just haven't finished it yet. I got to get back on there and finish that show. So that's what happened with that. And now the other thing that happened this week. Behind the Candelabra, the Liberace movie, Steven Soderbergh's movie, was on Sunday night, and I watched it the other day, and it was brilliant. It was great. Michael Douglas, in a role that could have easily just been some sort of hacky impression, an over-the-top foppishness, you know what I mean, some sort of dandy type. He was amazing. It was incredible. He played all the right notes as far as the character goes, and Liberace was just such an over-the-top showman, and he wasn't the greatest piano player to ever live, but he knew what the people wanted. They wanted the fur coats and the cars and the diamond rings and the crazy outfits, and he gave him a show. And every time he hit a home run, as far as I can tell. And the movie was great. Matt Damon was great. The cameos were wonderful. Rob Lowe as the plastic surgeon. He was really cool and crazy to see. And, yeah, I mean, Michael Douglas should be able to win an Oscar for that. That should have been a movie. It shouldn't have been a made-for-TV movie. He's definitely going to win Golden Globes and Emmys and that kind of stuff. But, I mean, it was such a good performance that he deserves more than what he's probably going to get out of it. So that was a fun show. And then The Bachelorette started this week. Big fan of The Bachelorette. Desiree this season, she's really hot, I think. I like brunettes. I'm a brunette guy. I like brunettes and legs and ass. I'm a legs and ass guy with brunettes. And as has been established in a previous episode, yes, I have a foot fetish too. So, I mean, it's a lot of things going on with me. But I did. The season looked good. There was a really creepy guy that started out by reading her a offer to go into the fantasy suite as soon as he met her. And that was creepy. And it was a callback through the whole episode where he kept going to her like, hey, let's go to the fantasy suite. Let's go to the fantasy suite. And she ended up dumping him. And the whole show, listen, I like bad TV for the simple reason that it's something to have on in the background. And it's good to just be able to have some sort of pop culture references, you know what I mean? Because shows like Burning Love that are so genius and so funny are based on these kind of shows. And I enjoy that aspect of it. So, season 9 or whatever it is of The Bachelorette, I don't know, but it's really, she's cute, and she's not going to find love. They never find love. You can't find love when that's the purpose of the show. I do believe that if you go on, like, Real World or Big Brother or something like that, where that's not the point of the show, I think it can happen. But if you're trying to force it, then it's a put-on. I mean, life isn't helicopter rides and bullshit fucking Neil Lane diamond rings that nobody can afford. Because when you have to go back to real life and it's all, hey, what movie do you want to go see? And there's no cameras around. That's romance as far as I can fucking tell. But what do I know? You know what I mean? I can't get anything right romantically. Although I punch out of my weight class when it comes to ladies. And thank God they're forgiving of looks. Not that I'm ugly. But, I mean, I'm a solid, 5.5, 6. But I'm a fairly nice guy, and my personality kind of gets me a lot further than it probably should with women. So, yeah, there you go. You have that. What else is going on this week? Oh, the Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs made it back to the NBA Finals, which is huge because they haven't been there since 2007. And this would be a great bookend for Tim Duncan's career. They won their first in 1999, and here we are 14 years later, and he's got a chance to win another one. And I mean, he's, in my opinion, the best player of his generation, with all due respect to Kobe Bryant and those kind of guys. But I think he's a great player, and he deserves far more credit than he actually gets for what he's done. He's the best power forward of all time, though some would argue that he's a center, but whatever. Even if you put him as a center, he's still one of the top 2 or 3 of all time. And they're a good team. They're not boring like people think. They can play fast-paced. They can put up 120 a game if they have to. And they can also grind it down and play playoff basketball, But now I'm just talking about the Spurs and the basketball season and things like that. But yeah, that was it. That was the whole point. I just wanted to put something up this week, no matter how short and how lame it was, just to keep the consistency going, because it's a muscle and you got to work it out. And if you don't, it's never going to fully develop. So Pat texted me this morning that next week we might have his brother Matt on, star of Veep, and a lot of Todd Phillip movies, and co-founder of the UCB Theater, and so that'll be fun because they have a fun dynamic, and Matt's a really smart, funny, clever guy, and that'll be an interesting talk to have with him. Or maybe we'll just bring Frank back in and let Frank Pesh yell at me some more and not remember my name and call me an idiot and a moron. I mean, if that's the kind of thing my mom wants to hear, but I don't know. Other than that, I really think that pretty much wraps it up. Like I said, this is episode 6. Maybe it's episode 5.1. I don't know. But it was just to be able to do something. And it also gets me working on the computer. Because I have to edit this together. There's a couple of drops I want to put in at the beginning. And then I'm going to try and put one at the end. It worked last night with the depressing version I did. And so I was pleased with how that came out. So hopefully I can repeat the magic of what that was. Just to not make this me rambling with a terrible voice. I mean, just imagine if you had to have video of this. How awful would that be? It would be dreadful. And I load these things up on YouTube also because not everybody has iTunes. And, some people, if we do have guests on, maybe their mom wants to hear it, and a lot of our parents aren't savvy with technical stuff. I'm not savvy with technical stuff. I mean, it's a goddamn iPhone. What am I doing? Although it sounds good. I was very surprised with how well it records. The Fitzsimmons ones that I listened to were great. And the sad one I made last night sounded good. There was just not a lot of anything there. It was just me laying on my back, depressed, with the TV on mute. What are you going to do with that? God, I don't know. Anyway, this was episode 6 or 5.1. What the hell do I know? Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow. Next week. Hopefully we'll be back next week with something in a studio with some sort of semi-professionalism to it. And other than that, I'm done sitting here in the closet. I'm going to go on about my day. I might go see Fast 6 tonight because it actually sounds like a great, fun ride to go see if I can drag myself out of the apartment. I mean, at some point I'll leave the apartment. If for no other reason, to go to Ralph's. I go to Ralph's every day. So if you want to meet me and want an autograph, I'll be at Rock and Roll Ralph's at some point every day on Sunset. Bring headshots, you know what I mean? Or fan art, whatever. I'll sign it. It'll be worth nothing to you. And you'll actually feel like a fool for asking. But anyway, that's it. He's at Paco Walsh. I am von Stroheim. You're not going to follow. Don't worry. I'm not offended. It's for me. It forces me to write. It forces me to do something creative. Otherwise, I'd just be talking to my dogs. And, you put it out in the universe. The things that make me the happiest are when I do one, and then somebody who doesn't even follow me finds it. They were searching some sort of topic, and they find it, and I get a favorite or something out of it. That's a pretty cool feeling. That somewhere in the world, somebody read this little blurb that I made. Yeah, I don't know. That's the magic of Twitter. Anyway, the Twitter awards were this week too, the T-Radio V ones, and I didn't win Best Under 241. So that was kind of depressing. I thought I had a shot at that. Turned out to not be the case. So, I don't regret this. Although I kind of do. Whatever. We'll be back next week, hopefully, with Matt Walsh. That'll be fun. Anyway, till then, I'm going to leave you with this little clip at the end that hopefully works out. Yeah. So, have a great day, guys. Bye.
So until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll find you in the morning sun. And when the night is due, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.